Hello leaders, Michael here, and welcome to this really interesting podcast. Today we have an actual coaching session that you're going to be able to sit in on. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be coaching Penny, who's an ambitious leader who's applying for a role 2 steps above her current position. And tomorrow she has an interview. Now this is her first leadership role. And so she's really stretched herself and it's triggering a lot of imposter syndrome and self-doubt. Her ego is really freaking out. And I really enjoy coaching sessions where I get to prepare people for an upcoming meeting, event, conversation, etc. Because we can really be proactive. And you're going to learn a lot of tools for yourself on how to be proactive. This is a classic doer to leader transition. She's a really great doer. She's been doing it a while. She's influential in her position. And now it's time for her to step into a leader. And in addition to that, she is potentially moving into a leadership position in a group she was part of. And a lot of people ask me about this because when you're part of a group for a long time, you make friends in there, you have relationships, and then you have to shift to being a leader. So you're going to get some tools and tips around that as well. And as we go through this, also, I talk to her and I coach her through some identity shifts and identity changes to use in real time. So you're going to see how she is going to go from confronted Penny to positive Penny. And the process we work together there. So here's an important technical note about this, that for her to be truly vulnerable and truly upfront with me, we have replaced her voice and some of the details about her position with an AI voice. Now that protects her anonymity. Her real name isn't Penny, but this allows her to just really lay it all out there. And for you, dear listener, to experience me coaching in a real life situation. And at the end of the day, everybody's happy. So get ready for part 1 of preparing Penny for her interview.
Welcome to Leadership Mindset 2.0. Practical neuroscience and psychology to transform you from a tactical doer into a strategic leader. Here is your host, former social entrepreneur of the year and coach to some of the world's top executives, R. Michael Anderson.
Tell me about your situation. You have an interview tomorrow for a new position.
I have been in my company for 5.5 years now. I'm a rehabilitation manager based in the South. I didn't have very good leadership for the first section of my life in the company, and I feel like I potentially should have progressed and wanted to progress before now. The company was really small, so we didn't really have a lot of career progression opportunities in the last year. We have grown exponentially. We are a moderate-sized company now with ambitions to grow larger. They have recently restructured the company and created positions which has given much more possibility for people to progress in their careers.
And where are you at, like right now? If I ask, how do you feel about tomorrow? What would you say?
I feel sick. I feel very sick. I open the invites. They want a presentation. So I read the presentation subject matter, and it just sounded gobbledygook to me. I did cry and got very panicked, then completely regretted applying for it, then thought about contacting and say, I don't want this anymore. I can't do it. That's kind of my natural reaction to things, which is something I'm going to need to peter out over my career. I react quite strongly to things. I am emotional. I am reactive. I do have imposter syndrome, and I think that is absolutely what I'm encapsulating at the moment. That's everything I'm feeling right now.
Okay, well, let's just take a breath for a second, because that's a lot. And I really appreciate you having the courage to apply for a job 2 steps above where you're at. That's amazing. My suggestion would be to work on your mindset and your frame going into this for a little while, and then we could work on some more of the specific things. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I want to take this from being this massive ball of stress that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go into this thing and maybe succeed, maybe fail, that type of thing. That is normally what happens in situations like that. But can we work on maybe framing it a different way in 2 things? In the fact of, one is, instead of this being some big, massive succeed or fail exercise, maybe we take it a little bit more as an experiment, because I think this is one of the first or second times that you're interviewing for a role like this. Is that correct?
So it was the first time. The last interview I had was for this job, Before that, I was in the NHS. So, yes, this is the first anything like this. I've never had to do a presentation.
Okay. So it would be natural for your ego because, the ego doesn't like change and the ego doesn't like new situations. So it would be natural for the ego to respond with some anxiety because it's such a new situation. Would you agree?
Yes, yeah.
It's just a little tool for you as to when you feel this stress or anxiety or headaches, for you to almost just realize that this is your ego doing what it thinks is correct. Nothing's wrong, nothing's problem. This is, if I had to do something for the first time like this, my ego would be doing the same thing. 99% of the people out there would be going through the same thing. So as you experience any imposter syndrome, oh crap, what am I doing? Oh my gosh, I'm nervous. Maybe what you could do is just say, hey, that's you, ego, just trying to do what you're supposed to do. I don't really need you here, but if you need to do this right now, I get that. You see how we're playing around with your conversation with yourself?
Yeah. I tried to do that in the car this morning when I was going to buy my flashcard. I was like, pipe down, take away this headache.
Well, you're good. You're on the right track. But the subtle difference is a lot of people will get angry at the ego, don't do that. And you're almost meeting the ego with more ego. So you're meeting this stress with more, hard energy. But if we could take almost a playful approach to it, be like, oh, that's my ego again. And just because it's part of you, it actually is doing what it's supposed to do. Well, it's doing what it thinks it's supposed to do. So how can we really get angry at it? But when we can sort of meet it with curiosity, I know what you're doing. We don't really need you right now, but thank you. And almost thank it, because it really, in a lot of ways, the ego does help us out. Would that maybe help you a bit in when some of these things come up?
Yes. I feel like I'm not going to give it a lot of time. Well, I'm going to try not to give it a lot of time because I need to prepare for the interview. And then tomorrow morning, I need to travel to London for the interview. It's face-to-face, so there isn't going to be a lot of time. But I'm definitely going to be feeling it's definitely going to be coming out on the train. So I'm going to need to have that conversation multiple times on the train with myself and my ego.
Yeah. And again, as it comes up, just meet it with friendliness. And it doesn't mean you have to stay there. When emotions come up, the more we can accept them, the quicker they run through us. Instead of trying to avoid them or push them down, the more we can almost make friends with them. Play around with it. Just have a play with it as over the next day or day and a half.
It will probably come up again if I get the job. That will send me into another tiz. Because then I've got to prove myself then, don't I?
And the second thing is, oftentimes we can put this undue pressure on ourselves. And, there's only so much you can do to succeed in this interview. And I just wonder, and normally the pressure comes from, oh my gosh, I'm going to get it or not get it, or I'm going to look good or stupid or whatever. What if we can change the frame of this to being an experiment?
Yep.
To being you do your best, you're going to go in, you're going to learn something. You may or may not get it. And instead, just take it as a learning experience.
I lied a little bit. I did go for an interview recently. It was a very short-term comment. I did go for it just to prove that I want, just to get in front of everyone. So I didn't get that, which is also maybe adding a layer to me feeling wobbly about this. But equally, I'm very aware that I am not coming from a place of having the experience, and they kind of needed people into that role really quickly to support whilst they were restructuring. So I feel like that's kind of an added element of this, that I wasn't successful then. But I have learned from it. I then went and read your book. I felt very but hurt after not getting the last one. That was reactionary, not responsive.
I appreciate you sharing that. What did you learn from that last interview?
So I didn't really want the job. I just wanted to get in front of management to show them that I want progression. And because I've come from a kind of 5-year period where there hasn't really been the opportunity for progression, it's the first opportunity that's come along, and I just wanted to get in front of them. So I went into it not really caring that much I didn't really give it my all. I didn't give it enough thought. But what it did highlight to me was where my, I was going to say limitations, but that's maybe not the best word. I'm trying to talk more positively about myself, where my learning needs are. And actually, I know that I don't have the experience to step into this role as a diamond of a leader, of a manager. So I think that's what it highlighted. And then that's why for the last 2 months, I've really been trying to do some self-development in that area to strengthen. Because at that time, we knew that a restructure was coming. So I was just trying to strengthen myself to be a better candidate for the restructure.
Well, it sounds like that was massively successful because you didn't really want the job anyway, and you didn't get it. But instead of focusing on you didn't get it, it sounds like it actually, and it put you on a learning path. So it sounds like that experience really, really worked for you.
Yeah, I think that what the worry with this is that they have restructured. They've put out 12 positions. I'm going for this one and only this one. And once they appoint people into all of these positions, I don't know how long it's going to be until anything else is potentially available. So I think that's adding a level of panic to it. This is my only shot. And if I don't get it, then God knows when it's going to come back again.
So again, talking about your internal conversation with yourself, a suggestion is every time you think that, say, I have no idea if that's true or not. In my experience, when companies go through change, it's not just one time. They might do this restructuring once. Some people might not work out. They may they may add jobs. So, that's your ego playing with you.
Damn, that ego.
That's what we think we know it is doing. What would be success for your interview tomorrow? Remembering that you can only control yourself. So what is success tomorrow?
Success tomorrow would be not crying. I definitely cry when I get very, very stressed. But really, success would be delivering a competent professional presentation and eloquently answering questions when I get into stressful situations. I do tend to revert to comedy. I'm quite self-deprecating. If I've got a spot on my face, I'll walk into a room and tell everyone I've got a spot on my face before anyone notices it, just so that I'm the one that's pointed out my floor rather than anyone else. And I feel like I don't have a very good business vocabulary yet. My arsenal of words that I can use isn't where I would hear other managers. So if I'm asked questions, I feel like I can't automatically jump to a really eloquent, professional, succinct answer. So success, no waffle, no crying limit. The amount of, I think comedy, bringing comedy anywhere, it's my personality, and I want to show my personality. So I do want to, I'm jovial, I'm positive. I do want to show that. But I think, I definitely just don't want to be self-deprecating and, they're going to ask me about my strengths and I don't want to really go really heavy on my weaknesses. And I want to be able to be confident about my strengths.
Let's do a little bit of identity work. This comes from Psychosynthesis. If you talk about yourself when you're a bit stressed, maybe feel like crying, maybe waffling on a bit, what penny would you call that? What adjective or what would you call yourself when you're in that state?
I feel like I protect myself by making fun of myself. So if I'm, self-deprecating and stuff like that it's protecting myself from what other people will think of me or say about me if I say it first. If I think it first, people can't, it's kind of taking away their power to do that, to make me feel any kind of way.
So would it be scared penny, protected penny, anxious penny?
Maybe that's the defense mechanism of being a comedian and taking them account myself, maybe. Confronted, it's being confronted with something.
So should we say confronted penny?
Yeah, confronted penny. Yeah.
Now, when you feel confronted, where do you feel that in your body, in your head? What physiological feelings or whatever do you have?
Chest and throat. I get a heavy chest and then a lump. That's definitely where that is. Right?
Yes. So that's confronted pennies, and you feel that. On the other side of that, if you're calm and grounded and you are not reacting, but responding, and you're in your authentic self, and you are with that confidence in yourself. You felt that before in your life.
Most days,
Penny, you are very charismatic. You have this great light energy about you, and that's where we were. When you're at your best and you are, setting clear boundaries, explaining yourself well, what does that feel like in your body first?
My back is straight. Yeah, like I feel like I'm taller. I'm a bigger presence. When that, I feel like my energy fills a room.
Great. And so what should we call this Penny?
Positive Penny.
Positive Penny.
Yeah.
I like that. Positive Penny. And what we want you to do is if we feel like you're going to confronted Penny, you can switch yourself into positive Penny. For me, and I don't know if this is correct for you or not, I still get this. I talk about how I do a lot of keynote speaking, and still sometimes when I'm waiting to go on, I feel this anxiety, and it's like an airiness, and it's like it's the world goes. For me, and this may or may not work for you, you let me know. What helps is when I feel my feet on the ground, and and it's like I move my energy down in my body, if that makes sense. And I breathe into the lower part of my stomach, and that gives me a groundedness, and I slow myself down. Do you think that would help?
I've got a similar thing that I think I just use subconsciously when I'm feeling uncomfortable. If I did it more consciously, I could probably do it. I do yoga, and specifically Bikram yoga, if you're familiar. It's the same 26 positions, and one of the first positions and exercises you do is your Panama breathing. And you lock your fingers together until they're up to the webbing, and you push really hard, and it goes under your chin. And actually, just like I'm doing it now, it's a very comforting sensation. If subconsciously, I think it's self-soothing. And if I did that consciously too, it's a bit more, it's grounding because you're moving your sensations around, aren't you?
That's good. Let's do it right now. Because, if you do that in an interview, I don't think it would be weird. And what I want to do is give you a couple of triggers to help you realize when you're in the one state to move you to the other. If you feel yourself getting, waffling those feelings, what are 2 or 3 things? I mean, you just told me one that you can do to move more into positive Penny. How about something with your breathing? Is there anything with your breathing, anything with your feet, anything with moving, slowing down, that type of thing?
Deep breath. I think that's something that, this is just a sidebar. Something that I did pick up from your book, which has actually really stayed with me, was about leaders moving from being reactive. I know I've said it a couple of times, from being reactive to responsive, and that is something I definitely have noticed in me. So I think confronted Penny will react very quickly to things. So I think in an interview, if something is asked from me, I'll feel confronted and I'll just blah. So at the point that I'm feeling like that, definitely taking a breath and stopping to then be able to switch from reactive to responding.
You're getting it exactly. Now, what really specifically can we use to resource you, as they say, or tools to use because we talked about some concepts. My fear is sometimes we talk about these concepts and you're like, oh my gosh, I went through the interview and I didn't use any of them. Let's give you some little triggers. Like, for example, it might be every time somebody asks you a question, you could just take a breath and really move from reaction to response.
Yeah.
Could be as simple as that. Tell me some things that you can do that's going to be really specific. Utilize what we talked about in the interview.
So luckily, they've already given me the interview questions. And so I'm going to be taking flashcards with me. There is a section where there's going to be non-prepared questions, which is going to be following my presentation. So exactly what you've just said. Every time they ask a question with the pre-prepared ones, I'm going to look down, take a deep breath, look at my card to make sure the answer is, I haven't got them mixed up. I'm not answering a different question because it's pre-given. Check. And maybe I'm going to try not to write too much on my card, so maybe just give myself a moment to just read it quickly so that I know what I'm then delivering. I don't want to read off paper. I want to deliver. So listen to the question. Take a breath. Look at my flashcard. If it's a not prepared question, take a breath. Everyone always says repeat back the question. So if it's maybe one that I'm not prepared for, repeat back the question to make sure I understand it. Then stop, be silent for about 10 minutes. See, look, I've gone to humor, I've done it immediately. Take a moment and then formulate my response before going back to them.
You're right on track. And because I've interviewed a lot of people, when I'm interviewing people, and even if I see them like going a little bit off track and catching them and getting themselves back on track, to me, that's very powerful. So even if you catch yourself sort of, I know what it is. I know, to me, I can get like nervous. And then if somebody asks me a question, I can just start running from the mouth. But even if you catch yourself doing that and gather yourself, that's a very powerful thing to do when you're experiencing it. So give yourself full permission to do that. That really shows great awareness. Okay, leaders, you just listened to episode 1, part 1 of Penny's coaching session, preparing her for the interview. And just think about some of the things we covered there. We really covered helping her move from the identity of confronted Penny into positive Penny. And a lot of the details of the coaching session are really important, like to really zone in on what the feeling is in her body. And just the same with you, when you can really get in touch with how your body reacts and responds to different things, to different feelings, to different states, then you have control over it and you can shift them. I'm going to say relatively easy. It depends on the situation, but the more you are aware of that and the more you practice it, the more powerful it can be. And identity shifts like that, it's one of the quickest, most powerful tools you can ever put into your own arsenal. One last thing. I have a small favor to ask. If you found value in this episode, the best way you can say thank you is to simply follow the show on your podcast app and leave a quick review. The review only takes a minute or two of your time, though it's so helpful to my team and me, and it also helps other leaders out there who are ready to shift their mindset. Okay, leaders, we're going to be releasing part 2 next week, so I will see you there.